Tange eam. Quem tangis?
Koalam.
Koalam, bene. Tange eam. Quem tangis?
Simiam.
Bene factum. Tange eam. Quem tangis?
Focam.
Tange eum. Quem tangis?
Ranam.
Optime. Very good. Tange eum. Quem tangis?
Ursum.
Tange eum. Quem tangis?
Equum.
Equum, certe. Tange eum. Quem tangis?
Porcum.
Tange eum. Cave. Quem tangis?
Crocodilum.
Crocodilum, eta. Tange eum. Quem tangis?
Anserem.
Anserem, Tange eum. Quem tangis?
Leonem.
Leonem, Tange eum. Quem tangis?
Canem.
Canem, tange eum. Quem tangis?
Serpentem.
Serpentem, optime. Nunc. Veni. Okay, alright. No. Quid est?
Musa.
Musa est. Veni. Cui. Tu. Musam. Das.
Simie.
Simie. Optime. Cui musam non das?
Koale.
Quale, certe. Cui musam non das?
Foce.
Voce, certe. Cui musam non das?
Rane.
Rane, eta. Sed cui musam das?
Simie.
Simie, certe. Okay. Quid est?
Mel.
Mel est. Et cui tu mel das?
Urso.
Urso, optime. Cui mel non das?
Equo.
Equo. Cui mel non das?
Porco.
Porco, certe. Cui mel non das?
Crocodilo.
Crocodilo. Ugh. Eta. Bene. Okay. Et nunc. Quid est?
Panis.
Panis est. Eta. Cui panem das?
Ansere.
Anseri. Bene. Anseri. Cui panem non das?
Leoni.
Leoni, certe. Cui panem non das?
Canis. Cani.
Cani. Et cui panem non das?
Serpenti.
Serpenti. Bene factum. Okay. Veni hook. Okay. Ecce. All right. Ecce. Infans. Sed cuius infans est?
Rana.
Rane.
Rane.
Rane. Eta est. Infans rane. Cuius infans non est?
Koale.
Eta non est infans koale. Cuius infans non est?
Simie.
Simie, certe. Cuius infans non est?
Voce.
Voce. Sed cuius infans est?
Rane.
Rane. Bene factum. Okay. Ecce infans. Cuius infans est?
Ursi.
Ursi, certe. Est infans ursi. Cuius infans non est?
Equi.
Equi. Cuius infans non est?
Porci.
Cuius infans non est?
Crocodili.
Crocodili. Bene factum. Et, okay. Ecce infans. Cuius infans est?
Canis.
Canis. Ita. Cuius infans non est?
Anseris.
Anseris. Cuius infans non est?
Leonis.
Leonis. Cuius infans non est?
Serpentis.
Serpentis. Sed cuius infans est?
Anseris.
Anseris. Optime. No, minime. Non est infans anseris. Est infans
Canis.
canis. Ita. Canis. Bene factum. Nunc. Ecce simia. Ecce koala. Quacum simia sedet.
Cum koala.
Cum koala, bene factum. Qua cum koala sedet.
Cum simia.
Cum simia, certe. Qua cum simia sedet.
Cum foca.
Cum foca. Et qua cum foca sedet.
Cum rana.
Cum rana, bene factum. Whoops.
Sorry.
Quo cum ursus sedet.
Cum equo.
Cum equo. Quo cum equus sedet.
Cum urso.
Cum urso. Quo cum equus sedet.
Cum porco.
Cum porco. Et quo cum porcus sedet.
Cum crocodilo.
Cum crocodilo. Bene factum. Ecce anser. Ecce leo. Quo cum anser sedet.
Cum leones.
Cum leone. Cum
Leone.
leone. Ita cum leone. Et quo cum leo sedet.
Cum ansere.
Cum ansere. Bene factum. Quo cum leo sedet.
Cum cane.
Cum cane. Certe. Et quo cum canis sedet.
Cum serpente.
Optime! Cum serpente. Bene factum. Beneficisti. Optime. Okay,
Yes.
parents. What you've just seen is a sort of live action declension of nouns. You may have heard that Latin teaching is all about declensions and conjugations. Well, all through this quarter I've been working with your kids on declensions. And what are declensions? Declensions are families of nouns. And like human families, human families, people kind of look alike and they kind of do the same things sometimes. In noun families, nouns tend to look alike in terms of how they sound and behave the same way. So I've got 3 groups of stuffed toys, but what we're really after is 3 groups of words. And those words are the names of each of these animals represented by a stuffed toy. So in the first family, I've got a number 1 here on the board. In the first family, we've got 4 nouns: koala, simia, foca, rana, and they all end in A. That's their family resemblance. In family number 2, what we call the second declension, we've got these 4 nouns: ursus, equus, porcus, and crocodilus. So they all end in us. All of those nouns end in us. These animals don't really have much in common among themselves, but the Latin words that are each of their names do have something in common. Namely, they all end in us. So that's family number 2, the second declension. The third declension is kind of a grab bag, and here we have anser, leo, canis, and serpens. Now, a goose, a lion, a dog, and a snake really don't have much in common as animals, and neither do the names on the surface of things. They all have different endings. Anser ends in er, leo ends in o, canis ends in is, and serpens ends in ains. But there actually are family resemblances. They're just under the skin. So maybe think of declension 3 as like a blended family where not all the kids have the same parents, but they still have something in common. And the other 2 as sort of traditional families with more pronounced resemblances. All right. So when your children are being asked questions about these animals, they are producing one-word answers, and each of those answers is one of these 12 words, but not necessarily in the same form. The big difference between a Latin noun and an English noun is that Latin nouns change their endings according to what they're doing in the sentence or what's being done to them. That's very different from English. It's very different from Spanish. But it's essential. You cannot understand Latin in 1,000 years if you don't understand what these changing endings do. So all this quarter, when we've been working with the animals in Latin class, I've been trying to give your children a living, immediate, tangible experience of those nouns changing and what it means. when you would say that this guy is an Ursus, and when you would say urse, when you're saying hello to him, salve urse, or when you would use the word ursum to refer to him because you're touching him, or you're picking him up, or you're seeing him, or you're doing something to him. So these are the noun declensions with which your children have been working, first, second, third. Of all the nouns in the entire language, about 85% belong to these three family groups, the first and second and third declension. There is a fourth declension, there is a fifth declension, but together they represent a small minority of nouns in the language, and your children don't need to learn them yet. Eventually they will, but for right now, it's enough for them to learn these forms, and ultimately the real point of this exercise is not so much to learn vocabulary, but it's to help them really get it through their heads that Latin nouns change depending on what they're doing in the sentence. If they can grasp that fundamental concept, they will be well on their way to mastering the basics of Latin. So what you've just seen with me and with Miss Viri, I'm doing what I will be doing when we give the kids the exam on the 8th of April, which is Tuesday, and Viri's been playing the role of the student. If you work with your kids at home, show them this video, practice it. If you don't have stuffed toys around, use drawings of the animals. But if your child can do everything that you just saw Viridiana do, he or she will do absolutely fine, and he or she will have learned something very important about the basics of Latin. Thank you very much for your attention, and good luck as you prepare for the exam. I'm sure that your kids will do fine. Thanks.